Jesus, I surrender all to Him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live.
The 16th of December, 1908, Volume 8. The privation of Jesus is the greatest of all pains. Going through most bitter days, I was lamenting to our Lord, saying, "How cruelly you have left me. You told me that you had chosen me as your little daughter, that you would keep me always in your arms. And now you have thrown me to the ground, and instead of a little daughter, I see that you've changed me into a little martyr. But even though little, my martyrdom is just as cruel and harsh, bitter and intense." While I was saying this, He moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, you are mistaken. My will is not to make you a little martyr, but a great martyr. If I give you the strength to bear my privation with patience and resignation, which is the most painful and most bitter thing that can be found, and there is no other pain that equals it or resembles it either in heaven or on earth, is this not heroism of patience and the ultimate degree of love, compared to which all other loves remain behind, are almost nullified, and there is nothing that can compare to it or stand before it? Is this not then great martyrdom? You say that you are a little martyr because you feel you do not suffer so much. It is not that you do not suffer, but it is the martyrdom of my privation that absorbs all your other pains, making them even disappear. In fact, in thinking that you are without me, you neither bother about nor pay attention to your other sufferings. And by not paying attention to them, you reach the point of not feeling their weight. Therefore you say you do not suffer. And then I have not thrown you to the ground. Rather, I keep you more than ever clasped in my arms. Even more, I tell you that if to Paul I gave my efficacious grace at the beginning of his conversion, to you I give it almost continually. And this is the sign of it, that you continue in your interior everything that you used to do when I was with you almost continually, doing what now you seem to do by yourself. You're feeling all immersed in me and bound to me, always thinking of me even though you do not see me. This is not your own thing, nor an ordinary grace, but special and efficacious grace. And if I give you much, it is a sign that I love you much, and I want to be loved much by you. End of the reading. The 16th of December 1922, Volume 15, on the conception of the Eternal Word. I was thinking about the act in which the Eternal Word descended from heaven and was conceived in the womb of the Immaculate Queen, and from within my interior, my always lovable Jesus put out one arm, surrounding my neck, and in my interior told me, "My beloved daughter, if the conception of my celestial Mama was prodigious, and she was conceived in the sea which came out of the three divine persons, my conception was not in the sea that came out of us, but in the great sea which resided within us, our very divinity, which descended into the virginal womb of this Virgin, and I was conceived. It is true that it is said that the Word was conceived, but my celestial Father and the Holy Spirit were inseparable from me. It is true that I had the acting role, but they were concurring. Imagine two reflectors, each one reflecting the same subject into the other. These subjects are three. The one in the middle takes on the operating, suffering, supplicating role. The other two are with it, concur with it, and are spectators. So I could say that one of the two reflectors was the Most Holy Trinity, and the other was my dear Mama. During the brief course of her life, by living always in my will, in her virginal womb, she prepared for me the little divine ground in which I, eternal Word, was to clothe myself with human flesh, since I would never have descended into a human ground. And as the Trinity was reflected in her, I was conceived. So while that same Trinity remained in heaven, I was conceived in the womb of this noble Queen. All other things, as great, noble, sublime, and prodigious as they may be, all remain behind, even the very conception of the Virgin Queen. There is not one thing, neither love, nor greatness, nor power, which can compare to my conception. Here it is not about forming a life, but about enclosing the life which gives life to all. Not about expanding, but about shrinking myself so that I might be conceived. And not in order to receive, but to give. The one who created everything, enclosing himself within a created and tiny little humanity. These are works only of a God, and of a God who loves, and who at any cost wants to bind the creature with his love in order to be loved. But this is nothing yet. Do you know where all my love, all my power and wisdom blazed forth? As soon as the divine power formed this tiny little humanity, so little as to be comparable to the size of a walnut, but with all the members proportioned and formed, and the Word was conceived in it, the immensity of my will enclosing all creatures, past, present, and future, conceived all lives of creatures in it. And as my humanity grew, so did they grow within me. So even though I appeared to be alone, when observed under the microscope of my will, all creatures conceived in me could be seen. It happened with me as when one sees crystal clear waters. Even though they appear to be clear, when they are observed under a microscope, how many microbes cannot be seen? My conception was such and so great that the wheel of eternity remained stunned and ecstatic in seeing the innumerable excesses of my love and all prodigies united together. The whole mass of the universe was shaken in seeing the one who gives life to everything shrink, reduce himself, enclose everything in order to do what? To take the lives of all and make all be reborn. End of the reading. The 16th of December 1928, Volume 25. Speaking of the 9 excesses of Jesus in the Incarnation. Contentment of Jesus. His word is creation. Jesus sees the scenes of his love being repeated, preludes of his kingdom. I was doing my meditation, and since today it was the beginning of the novena of baby Jesus, I was thinking about the 9 excesses of his incarnation that Jesus had narrated to me with so much tenderness, and that are written in the first volume. I felt great reluctance at reminding the confessor about this because in reading them he had told me that he wanted to read them in public in our chapel. Now, while I was thinking of this, my little baby Jesus made himself seen in my arms, so very little, caressing me with his tiny little hands and saying to me, "How beautiful is my little daughter, how beautiful! How I must thank you for having listened to me." And I, my love, what are you saying? It is I who must thank you for having spoken to me and for having given me with so much love, acting as my teacher, so many lessons that I did not deserve. And Jesus, "Ah, my daughter, to how many do I want to speak and they do not listen to me, reducing me to silence and to suffocating my flames. So we must thank each other. You thank me and I thank you." And then why do you want to oppose the reading of the 9 excesses? You do not know how much life, how much love and grace they contain. You must know that my word is creation, and in narrating to you the 9 excesses of my love in the Incarnation, I not only renewed my love that I had in incarnating myself, but I created new love in order to invest the creatures and conquer them to give themselves to me. These 9 excesses of my love, manifested with so much love of tenderness and simplicity, formed the prelude of the many lessons I was to give you about my divine fiat in order to form its kingdom. And now, by their being read, my love is renewed and redoubled. Don't you want then that my love being redoubled, overflow outside and invest more hearts, so that as a prelude they may dispose themselves for the lessons of my will to make it known and reign? And I, my dear baby, I believe that many have spoken about your incarnation. And Jesus, yes, they have spoken. But those have been words taken from the shore of the sea of my love. Therefore they are words that possess neither tendernesses nor fullnesses of life. But those few words that I have spoken to you, I have spoken from within the life of the fount of my love, and they contain life, irresistible strength, and such tendernesses that only the dead will not feel themselves being moved to pity for me, tiny little one who suffered so many pains, even from the womb of the celestial Mama. After this, the confessor was reading in the chapel the first excess of the love of Jesus in the Incarnation, and my sweet Jesus from within my interior pricked up his ears to listen, and drawing me to himself, he said to me, "My daughter, how happy I feel in listening to them. But my happiness increases in keeping you in this house of my will, as both of us are listeners. I of what I have told you, and you of what you have heard from me. My love swells, boils, and overflows. Listen, how beautiful it is. The word contains the breath, and as it is spoken, the word carries the breath that like air goes around from mouth to mouth and communicates the strength of my creative word. And the new creation that my word contains descends into the hearts. Listen, my daughter. In redemption I had the cortege of my apostles, and I was in their midst, all love, in order to instruct them. I spared no toil in order to form the foundation of my church. Now in this house I feel the cortege of the first children of my will, and I feel my loving scenes being repeated, in seeing you in their midst, all love, wanting to impart the lessons about my divine fiat, in order to form the foundations of the kingdom of my divine will. If you knew how happy I feel in seeing you speak about my divine volition, I anxiously await the moment when you begin to speak, in order to listen to you and to feel the happiness that my divine will brings me." End of the reading. The 16th of December 1929, Volume 27. How Jesus had need of nothing, possessing within himself the strength creative of all goods. How the divine volition is the bearer of all created things, the generative virtue. I was continuing my round in the divine fiat to unite myself to all the acts done by it for love of us all, its creatures. But as I arrived at the point in which my lovable Jesus descended into the lowliness of the human acts, such as suckling the milk from his mama, taking food, drinking water, and lowering himself even to work, I felt amazed in seeing that Jesus, by his nature, had need of nothing, because possessing within himself the strength creative of all goods, he could do without making the use of the very things created by him. But while I was thinking of this, my sweet Jesus, making himself seen and heard in my interior, told me, "My daughter, you are right, that I had need of nothing, but my love, having descended from the height of the heavens to the lowliness of the earth, could not remain quiet nor still. I felt the irresistible need to let my love out, and to love in those very acts that the great creature did by necessity, while I did them to let my love run toward her, and so be able to say to her, 'See how much I have loved you. I wanted to descend into your littlest acts, in your necessities, in your work, in everything, to tell you that I love you, give you my love, and receive your love.' But do you want to know the primary reason for which I lowered myself so much in doing so many lowly and human acts? Necessity did not exist in me, but I did it in order to fulfill in each act the divine will. All things would present themselves before me for what they were in themselves, where they had come from, sealed by the divine fiat, and I would take them because it was wanted by it. It can be said that there was a contest between my divine will that, by nature, as word of the Celestial Father, I possess within me, and my same divine will spread in the whole creation. So, in all things, I knew and saw nothing but my divine will. It was my food, my water, my work. Everything would disappear from me, and it was always my divine will that I would deal with. And while my divine will would make me descend into the human acts of creatures, I would call all the human acts of each one of them, that they might receive the great gift of having my divine volition descend as prime act and as life of their acts. Oh, if creatures looked at created things for what they are in themselves, their origin, who it is that nourishes them and preserves them, and who the bearer is of so many things that serve the human life, oh, how they would love my divine will, and would take the substance of created things. But they look at the exteriority of things, and therefore they attach their hearts to them, and feed themselves from the cortex of them, losing the substance present inside created things that came out of us, so as to let creatures perform many acts of our divine will. But to my sorrow I am forced to see that creatures do not take the food, the water, nor perform their work in order to receive and fulfill my divine volition, but out of necessity and to satisfy their human will. And my divine fiat is put out of their acts. While we created so many things in order to place our divine will as though in a bank in the midst of creatures, and by not using it they keep it as though in a continuous act of bankruptcy. All the good that they should take, if in all things they fulfilled and took my divine will, remains broken for them, and we remain with the sorrow of not seeing it as dominator and queen of all the human acts of creatures. Then I continued my abandonment in the divine fiat. I felt the great need of it and of remaining always in its sea of light, never to go out. I felt it like heartbeat, like breath, like air, that infused life in me and maintained in me the order, the harmony, and the dissolving of my little atom within its divine sea. But while my little mind was crowded with thoughts of divine will, my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, there is no order, nor rest, nor true life, but in my divine fiat. In fact, the life of each creature, her first active life, is formed within the womb of her Creator, and then, as a birth from us, we put it out into the light of the day. And since we have within ourselves the generative virtue, as a child of ours, it carries within itself the seed that generates, and with this seed the creature forms many other births. And as she keeps carrying out her life, she forms the birth of her holy thoughts, of her chaste words, of the beautiful enchantment of her works, of the sweet treading of her steps, of the refulgent rays of her heartbeats. And as all these births are formed from the creatures, they take their way to ascend to their Creator, to recognize Him as their Father, to love Him, surround Him by cortege, and form His long offspring, as our glory and that of our generative virtue. But in order for our generative virtue to be fruitful, it takes our divine will, dominating in the birth come out of us. Otherwise there is the danger for it to be transformed into a brute, and to lose the virtue generative of good. And if it generates passions, weaknesses, vice. And these not only do not have the virtue of ascending to us, but, on the contrary, they are condemned as births that do not belong to us. End of the reading. The 16th of December, 1932, Volume 31. How the good makes glory rise naturally and becomes narrator of she who did it. How in every I love you is a triumph of Jesus, and in order to be loved he places his hidden love. My abandonment in the divine volition continues, although under the nightmare of the repeated privations of my beloved Jesus. Despite that the light of the eternal fiat never leaves me, its waves of light invest me inside and out, make themselves the heartbeat, breath, motion, nourishment of my little soul. If it were not for the divine will, that as life substitutes itself for everything and even for my very Jesus, with one blow I would end life, and that same light would carry me to heaven. But alas, I said to myself, how long my exile is. What is the good that I do? And although I might do something great, what is the good that I could do? But while I thought this, my dear life's sweet Jesus, repeating his brief little visit, told me, my daughter, courage. My will is consuming you in its light in order to form its divine copy in you. And so much is its jealousy that it doesn't for an instant stop sending you light, so as not to give you the time to do your will, but always mine. And then what great thing is that good? And yet everything is in operating good. It is the substance of sanctity and the sun that shines by means of its holy words, works and steps in the midst of creatures. But while it gives light to itself and warms itself, it gives light and warms whoever is around it. Good produces the immortal glory on earth and in heaven. Who can ever remove the glory of a good that one has done? No one, neither God nor the creatures. Rather, in the good act, as naturally, the glory that that same act contains rises by itself from itself, so much so that many times creatures are forgotten, but the good done remains as life in their midst and is not easily forgotten. Therefore, every good done sings the glory and becomes the narrator of he who has done it. So if you want to do even one single good act by being alive, all eternity would sing for you a greater glory. So I continued my round in the divine volition. According to my usual way, I animated all created things with my little I love you, and I wanted to leave it impressed in all things so that it would be voice and would ask for the kingdom of the divine will on earth. And blessed Jesus, surprising me again, told me, my little daughter of my volition, you must know that so much is the yearnings, the delirium, that I want to love and be loved by creatures, that hidden without being noticed, I place in the depths of their souls a dose of my love. According to their disposition, so I increase the dose, and feeling my love in themselves, they tell me from the heart, I love you, I love you. In feeling myself loved, I triumph in the love of the creature. So every I love you of hers is a triumph that I make. And although I place my love hidden in it, I pay no attention to the fact that it was a crafting of mine in order to be loved. Rather, I pay more attention to the fact that it has passed through her channel, that is, from her will, from her voice. And feeling myself wounded, I look at it as love that comes to me from the creature. So every I love you of yours is an additional triumph that you make for your Jesus. And since you seek to cover heaven and earth, animate and inanimate things, with your I love you, I look at everything dusted by the beauty of the love of the creature and remain enraptured. I say with all the emphasis of my love, ah yes, how content I am, already I am loved. And while I triumph in her love, she triumphs in my love. Having said this, he was silent, and so much was the ardour of his love that almost fainting he sought rest in my arms, and afterwards, as refreshed, he repeated with stronger emphasis, my dearest daughter, you must know that what I want and interests me the most is that I want to make known that I love the creature. I want to say to the ear of every heart, child, I love you. And I would be content if I heard myself responded to with my same little refrain, Jesus, I love you. I feel the irresistible need to love and be loved. Oh, how many times I remain suffocated in my love, because while I love, not feeling that they love me, my love does not find its outpouring, and I remain drowned in my own love. Here is why I love you so much. As you say it, it takes the form of a refreshing little flame that, coming into my great fire of love, brings me refreshment, and spreading itself as beneficent dew on the flames that burn me, quiets my love, my deliriums, my loving yearnings, because if I have been loved, I can give mine, and being able to give mine, my love pours out. My daughter, heaven and earth are full and swollen with my love, and there is no point where my love does not feel the need of overflowing, in order to go down and run in search of hearts, in order to tell them its little word, child, I love you so much, and you tell me that you love me. And it is all ears to hear if the creature says that she loves it. If this is affirmed, it feels its love reassured in her, and it takes its sweet rest there. On the other hand, if it is not affirmed, it runs, it goes around heaven and earth, nor does it stop if it does not find who tells it that she loves it. Now every I love you of the creature is an outlet to my love, that entering into mine incorporates itself into my own love, and has the virtue of rending it, while it remains completely what it is, and forming fissures, it forms the ways in order to pour out my love. But this love is then pure when it is animated by my will. Do you see, therefore, what your long sing-song of your I love you is? These are so many outpourings that you give to your Jesus, and they call me to rest in your soul. Therefore, I want you always to say your I love you to me. I want to see it in all the things that I've done for you. I love to always hear it. And when you do not say it to me, yearning I say, alas, not even the little daughter of my will gives me the continuous outlet in her little love. And I remain all afflicted, and I await your dear little refrain, I love you, I love you. Love me, my daughter, love me. Have pity on my wounded heart that yearns, is delirious and agonizing, asks for your love. And yearning, I embrace you. I clasp you strongly, strongly to my heart, in order to let you feel how I burn with love, so that feeling my flames, you would be moved to pity for me and love me. Oh, please make me content. Love me. When I am not loved, I feel thwarted in my love, and so I arrive at deliriums. And when a compassionate heart is moved to have pity on me, and she loves me, I feel my misfortune changed into happiness. And then every I love you of yours is nothing other than a little firewood that you cast into the immense ocean of my love, and that converting it into a little flame increases love a degree more for your anguishing Jesus. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.